computer being able to say things, it will actually be able to do things. It'll take actions. It'll learn to use APIs. It'll buy things. It'll write emails. It'll make phone calls, just as an entrepreneur would.
Did you know that by 2030, AI is expected to take over 40% of the human workforce? So the big question is, are AI agents the future of humanity or a threat to our survival? Perhaps you don't even know what AI agents are. Relax. In this video, we will explore what Microsoft AI's CEO has to say about robots, AI, and the future of human workforce. And you get to understand every bit of what we mean by AI agents. Remember, this is Tech Commentary. And if you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you show some love by liking. Now let's dive in straight away.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm with Mustafa Suleyman, who, to be honest, you've been an inspiration ever since DeepMind. And I think, a lot of the current AI revolution has to pay credit to you. So thank you so much for doing everything you do. And thank you so much for agreeing to do this very quick session. I'm just going to start with questions. I'm just going to dive in. The first question I had, and I remember reading this one tweet about you a long time ago where somebody spoke about your version of the modern Turing test. So you had spoken about the modern Turing test where you said that there's going to be a point in the future where these AI agents...
All right, here you go. So he has mentioned AI agents again. What are AI agents? In simple terms, they are softwares or robots that are capable of doing most of the tasks that we take in our job places. In other words, an AI agent is more like the CEO's personal assistant. It's capable of taking on all the basic routine tasks that the CEO would undertake, such as attending Zoom meetings, scheduling things on the calendar, planning, writing blog posts and articles, and so on and so forth. So the next time someone asks you about AI agents, you know what it means. They are simply personal assistants, which are machines.
They're sort of able to, go out and make money by themselves, right? Without too much human intervention. And we've started to see some of that in pockets, right? There's still some human intervention. Like, we are a good example. We use avatars on YouTube and Instagram, and that's last month we did close to about 80 million views.
So the host just said something very profound that I want to clarify quickly. He mentioned about using avatars to create a YouTube video that got over 8 million views. I think he said even 80 million views. That's super crazy, but that's it. So most of the videos that we are going to be watching online, whether on TikTok or YouTube, most of them would be done without any human intervention. Okay, so perhaps the only human intervention is the command that you give to your AI avatar or AI agent to create a video explaining whatever, and it's going to do it using your own clone or your own avatar image or video, whatever, but you are not going to sit there to record, but you would have a challenge differentiating between what is real and fake.
Right. At some point, that's going to be an agentic process where there need not be humans involved. My question to you is, now that we're seeing some of this evidence, what are your predictions now?
First of all, just take a moment to think about how crazy it is that you can ask that question. Just really think. People have spent 50 or 60 years being inspired by the Turing test, right? And so I think many of your viewers will know what the Turing test is, but just for those who don't, it is a long ago prediction by the amazing computer scientist and mathematician Alan Turing, who basically said that intelligence is when you can sort of convince somebody else that the AI system is a human and they can't really tell whether it's a human or whether it's an AI system because it speaks so fluently, right? That was the Turing test, the imitation game. And in the last year or so, we've kind of just breezed past that moment.
All right, so you heard Mustafa made some profound statements that I just want to clarify. Mustafa is talking about the fact that machines, the ones we humans have created, are now able to have perfect conversations and in most instances far better than we humans do. So the AI agents we are talking about, in terms of intelligence, they are even far intelligent than we are. You can't sit in a classroom with an AI agent and think that whatever exam you're going to write, you're going to beat the robot. That's not happening now. So these machines have become so powerful, but let's continue on. Listen to what he's about to say. It's a shocking news. Just pay attention.
We've sort of passed the Turing test, and nothing seems to be, nothing seems to have changed. That's really profound. So, like, with that said, I sort of, kind of proposed a different version of that, where, instead of just a computer being able to say things, it will actually be able to do things. It'll take actions, right? It'll learn to use APIs. It'll buy things. It'll write emails. It'll make phone calls, just as an entrepreneur would, or an office worker would. And we're now at the moment where it hasn't quite approached that, but sometime in the next few years, you're right. It's probably going to be the case that an AI could generate new videos on YouTube, try and promote them on social media to optimize their watch time, potentially try and monetize them in different ways, maybe create merchandise for the show, all kinds of things. And that is it is a pretty wild moment to be in. It's amazing capabilities that I think are going to make us all much more sort of creative.
How does that change the economy? I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of smart people that take advantage of this, and a lot of other people who feel like they're being outcompeted now by agents. You had other humans to compete with in the past. Now you also have agents to compete with.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this. I mean, we all sort of adopt technologies at different times, but net, we all end up using televisions, using cars, having smartphones, and something that feels sort of profound and scary and uncertain and suddenly feels everyday and mundane, right? It's kind of incredible that I can leave a voice note for my friend and dispatch that to another part of the universe. It's incredible that I could have an idea and in 2 sentences visualize that idea in an image. And I just in general think sort of people underrate how profound the current moment is, and we get desensitized to things that are already around us and are actually super significant all the time. And so to be creative in this moment is actually to be open-minded and to test and iterate and absorb and integrate and play with everything at our disposal. And then you get to see the limitations of it, right? Because if you don't engage with something, you over-idolize it as though it's like, so much more than it actually is. But when you really play with these models, you see, okay, they're amazing and inspiring in some ways, but they're also super limited in some ways. And that gives you an intuition for how to use them, when not to use them, how to mitigate their weaknesses. I think that's the sort of way to think about adoption.
So Mustafa has said a lot, but the ones that are very key that I think we should be looking at is people are scared. What are you talking about? These AI agents taking over our jobs and yes, there is always going to be that kind of fear whenever there is a revolution. And so with this AI revolution, there is definitely going to be some jobs lost, but this is also the most amazing moment in the history of the world, where you get to get an assistant do tasks for you that are so amazing. You don't have to know how to code. You just have to know how to give the right instructions, and the software will give you the code. You don't have to know how to do videos. You have to give the right instructions or master how to, direct a tool, and the tool will produce every video you want for you. But the most amazing part is this. The fact that these things or machines are here to help make our lives better means that if you get lazy, you will be poor and broke forever. Why? It's just like in those days when calculators came. Everyone was like, oh, then how are mathematicians going to fare? What would they do? And stuff like that. And then, bicycles came and cars came and people who had donkeys were like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But still, there are people who have horses and donkeys that they use and they are still making lots of money, out of them. So here's the challenge. The goal should not be to sit down, cross your legs, and cry like a baby because of the technological advancements. It is now an opportunity for you to be creative and then to cultivate the habit of learning. The sad reality in Africa, in Ghana especially, is that people stop learning the moment they leave the university or they leave school. They are like, I'm done with school, and then boom, they put a full stop to learning. My friend, in this era, if you have that kind of mindset, or if you are teaching your children to go to school, graduate with the best grades and get a job, you are programming them to fail brutally. It is time for us to be more creative, for us to explore, for us to take more risk, for us to be more resilient, for us to learn more every day. How many hours do you spend on TikTok and YouTube? And how many of those hours do you consciously say that I'm going to study a specific skill, or how to use AI, or how to even clone myself, so that I can have my avatar do videos without me being there? So it's no more enough to have a certificate from a university. It is now mandatory. It's very important. It's basic. It's essential for you to cultivate the habit of learnability, learning every day and sharpening your skills, and being creative with the tools that are available.
I think one follow-up question here is, a lot of our audience is software engineers. And a lot of the work we do in our company, in the past, we of course wrote code. Now we're increasingly seeing us use GitHub, Copilot, a bunch of other tools, and starting to see that we're offloading some of our work there to the point where it feels like we're writing English, right? Which is awesome in the first place. But secondly, what does that do to software? Because if anyone can go out there and just say, hey, spin me software that does ABCD, and then just get the app or the tool, and they're able to use it, what happens to the entire field of software as a service?
Yeah, it's a great question. And maybe if you look back, it's kind of easier to see that this has been the course of software development for many decades, right? We've been creating languages of increasing abstraction, all the way from binary and assembly language up to now low code and no code languages for a long time. And even when you write Python, you're really calling on a bunch of existing libraries. There's many libraries that you're not writing from scratch every time. And so just as you strung together a whole series of different libraries, now you're sort of giving a single instruction to compose an entire sub-component of a program, or maybe even the entire program itself. So what does that mean? It means that it reduces the barrier to entry to getting stuff done. It makes it easier for anybody with fewer skills, if you like, to write a piece of software, create an application, design something, see it produced in the real world. What does that mean? Well, that means that we have more experimentation of different ideas faster. And so we're trying out as a species collectively all the different paths of possible combinations of ideas that we could combine. And that in itself is going to increase the rate of discovery of new things, new business models, new product applications, new scientific ideas, which in turn is collectively going to drive the overall productivity of our civilization unlike anything before. Because after all, invention has been the thing that has driven, our species from the beginning of time, to reduce human suffering, to find shelter, to make it easier to get food, to reduce conflict. And so that trajectory is about to go exponential.
So wait, I just want to make sure you didn't miss something very important here. It is now very easy to develop softwares and applications even without knowing how to code. I didn't learn how to code, but I designed professional websites for institutions and big brands. I never learned SEO, but then when I mastered how to use SEO tools, now I'm able to do fantastic SEO for brands and their websites. So it's now we are now in an era where the only barrier to becoming useful or doing something is laziness. If you are not lazy, then pick your phone, go online, search, and whatever software application you want to do, try over and over and over and fail, and finally you'll get it.
Another question here is around, cognitive effort, right? I was talking about this before the pod went live, where I was looking at a really big number with a lot of commas, and instead of me figuring out what that number was, I just picked it up, put it into an LLM, and said, "Hey, what number is this?" Right? I wanted the number in billions or trillions or whatever, and it just gave me the answer. That's something I would have figured out in 3 seconds, but I didn't take the effort to take those 3 seconds. I just dumped it in. Sometimes with YouTube videos, I just pull out the entire video, dump it into an LLM, and say, "Please give me a summary of this." So do you feel like at some point we're starting to get cognitively lazier?
Throughout evolutionary history, we as a species acquire knowledge and skills which enable us to adapt to whatever the environment requires of us. And then we lose those knowledge and skills as civilization evolves. Like in the past, it would have been important for us as foragers to know which berries were poisonous or which animals were likely to attack us or not, right? And we sort of drop that information over time. It becomes less and less valuable to memorize certain pieces of information, and more valuable to focus on creativity and judgment and so on. So as I was saying, I think it reduces the barrier to entry to creativity, right? Because I don't have to spend years learning to be a great programmer. I can now try something out quickly. Then what the kind of evolutionary story is optimizing for is, my ability to invent a new idea, a new concept, an abstract layer, rather than my ability to be able to execute on it. So in a way, it's sort of exercising a different part of our brain, and yes, atrophying a certain part of our brain. Like for sure, now that we all have smartphones, we don't memorize telephone numbers like we might have done back in the day. Or maybe we don't memorize our times table as much, right? Or maybe we're a bit less good at maps navigation because we all have a map.
So the host wanted to find out what happens to our cognitive abilities and our skills. And, he explained that throughout our human evolution, anytime there is an evolution, anytime there is a development or advancement in one way or the other, we tend to now, it tends to now free our minds or free us from the tasks that were tedious but took so much time and energy. It frees us from those things and creates an opportunity for us to think about bigger and bigger things. I'm sure if we're in the year 1402, Elon Musk would not probably be thinking about space colonization when there are so much to do when it comes to...
Should that affect education for youngsters now? Because we still do the times table and we still do a lot of things that at this point none of us would do.
Yeah.
Do you think education, like especially K-12 education, has to change now that agents are a thing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's already changing. I mean, if you compare it to sort of 20, 30 years ago, pre-digital, it is a different educational environment to know that you now have access to information at your fingertips. And obviously people worry that it means people are just going to sort of copy and not be, not sort of ingest or learn or memorize new information. And that's going to remain important. But I think we just have to be kind of deliberate about it. It is in a new phase. Every tool gives us an amplification of some skills and a kind of atrophying of other skills. And we just have to sort of balance that in tension with one another.
This is so important. I cannot just let it go without commenting about it. Our African education, that's more like chew, pour, pass, and go, where you memorize a thing, you go and give it to your teacher, he gives you an excellent and then there is no aspect of creativity in your life. That is a thing of the past, or should be. And so, like he was explaining, anytime there is this new tool, it's going to amplify, it's going to make a certain part of our abilities and capabilities magnified, and then some part of our abilities are also going to be diminished. And so we have to be able to create a balance where, not because there is so much abundance of information, nobody wants to memorize things. We have to be able to memorize things, we have to be able to learn, but then we also have to be more creative so that there is a balance between the two.
I have one last question for you, which is, can you tell me the top three, like from your, back-end data, right? What are the top 3 use cases of Copilot today? And then also paint a picture of where Copilot goes 3 years from now and what that looks like. What are the top 3 use cases, in 2027 or 2028?
Yeah, I mean, top use cases are, I think, replacing your search engine.
Today?
Yeah. I mean, many people are using it for everyday queries. What is the GDP of this, or where do I find that, or what did this person do? Generic queries that you might otherwise put to a search engine. Second is, I think, education. It's definitely a help for college and school. And third is, I think, increasingly I'm seeing people use it for companionship and emotional support, helping to think through a tricky problem that you're working through. Because Copilot today is not judgmental. It doesn't put you down. It asks, it's always there to talk to you in a very sort of simple and calming way. So I think those are the kind of big use cases. But tomorrow, or sort of in years to come, these models are going to sort of have near perfect memory, right? So they're going to be very useful as a kind of second brain for you. Like anything that occurs to you, any idea that you have, any open question that you have, any historic documents that you have, any tasks that you have, it's really going to be a way for you to sort of augment your everyday thought process and brain. And that's kind of what I mean by an AI companion that's always at your side, seeing what you see, hearing what you hear, and living life alongside you.
Okay, so now he's gotten more specific with Microsoft, and he asked about Copilot. For those of you who don't know Copilot is just like ChatGPT or Gemini from Google. So it's an AI assistant that you can ask it any question, your search queries. If you are feeling lonely and you want a companion, you can talk to it. It will you can give it a test. It will talk back to you, and so on and so forth. And so the question was, what does the future look for Copilot and Gemini and all these other AI assistant softwares? And his response was that they are going to serve as companions, because even right now, like I could go to Gemini, and then I'll ask Gemini, I'm really feeling stressed, or I feel terrible at the moment. What do you think I should do? And within seconds, it's going to offer a lot of support. It's going to give a lot of advice, not medical, but then very relevant. And so in the future, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, all these AI agents, they are going to be more like personal assistants or personal coaches who will be there with us, feel what we feel, listen to whatever we want to talk to them about. And I'm sure, it's already happening, but people are already marrying robots and stuff like that. And so AI agents, look, no matter what you say or do, they've come to stay, they become part of us, and very soon we'll be attending lectures and having conversation with friends without knowing that these people are actually not people, but machines.
Do you think it's going to be a friend? Do you think I'd be able to give it a name? Because I do that a lot. I spar with Copilot a lot, right? Which is, hey, I have this idea, can you help me flesh it out? And I know a lot of smart people that do that. At some point, do you think I'd give it a name and it knows me very, very well and it becomes my friend?
I think it's going to become a friend. Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to, really live life alongside you. It's going to see what you see, both in the physical world and on, the digital world. And the strange thing about it is that you're going to be able to sort of point to things like, say, take a look at this. What do you think of that? Right? And it'll just know what this or that is, because it has a kind of presence living life with you. It'll know what your style is, what your tone is, and how you like to talk.
This is simply mind-blowing. Can you imagine you have an AI agent or more like a personal assistant, and you get out of your car at a particular location, and then you're like, hey, take a look at this place. What do you think I can get to buy here to eat that is more healthy? And then it will just say, oh, I think roasted plantain is very special. There's a very special roasted plantain on the left side, or there is your favorite fufu and palm nut soup with goat is on the right side, just about 2 minutes walk from you. And it knows what your favorite food is, your sports. At this particular moment, it knows what you are craving for. And this is super crazy. Like, I just can't imagine it. Let's wrap it up.
Do you think I'd be able to send it to work instead of me?
I think that you're going to apply for a job with it. Your personal AI is going to get to know you so well and fill in a lot of the kind of gaps that you have to allow you to be your best self. Because it's infinitely malleable and adaptive, and because I think we're designing it with such intention, it should complement the areas where you deliberately want it to augment you, to enable you to shine in ways that you are sort of uniquely capable of doing and proud. So I think of it as a kind of like jigsaw puzzle, connecting with the areas that you choose to sort of amplify in your life. And yeah, I can imagine you introducing it to your friends or to your parents, or taking it to work with you, or switching jobs with you, etc. I think it's going to be an important part of life.
So in a way, nobody has to really suffer with loneliness.
At this point, it seems like the host is getting lazy. But what I mean by that is it's like, okay, so is it possible for you to send your AI agent to go and work on your behalf? And guess what? The answer is yes. Your agent is actually your partner. Is going to kind of complement you in specific areas where you think you need help, and it's going to be there for you. It's to your advantage. And he also did make mention of the fact that you can actually have your agent apply for a job and go and work and make the money for you. This is super exciting, right? I cannot imagine how many Ghanaians would just jump onto these things, and everyone would sell one of their legs to go and get money to buy an agent, so that the agent will just go and work for them whilst they sit and watch sports and things like that. But hey, that's not what I'm preaching. What I mean by that is that there is no limitation as to what these AI agents are going to be able to do for you, your professional life, in terms of keeping you company and so on and so forth. I know the critics are going to say, oh, this is 6-6, whatever. My friend, it's time you wake up. It's time to embrace technology, because it is here to help. Those of you who think this is a demon kind of thing, you should stop using your phones, stop using calculators, and stop using cars, because all of these, when they were coming in at first, were scary, but now they are part of our lives. And so AI agents have come. We are just in kindergarten stage of its evolution and usage. Every month, every 6 months, every year, huge, massive advancements are happening in technology, particularly in AI and data. And so the best you can do for yourself is to embrace it, learn how you can use, or learn how you can take advantage and use the agents, use AI and the robots. Whatever occupation, whatever career you have, whether you are a mason, whether you are a farmer, there are going to be machines and tools and softwares that will help you to 100 times your productivity and help you to make a lot more money and your life better. Remember what I always say, it's really good to make a lot of money, but it is very important to manage your emotions and keep your mental sanity intact. So finally, AI agents are here. They are part of us, and soon they will join you in your classrooms. They will be teaching you. You go to a hospital, they will do the operation for you. You go to your company, you go and have a meeting with your boss without knowing that your boss is actually traveled and has gone on a vacation. But his AI agent is there, just like him. We'll be having a meeting with you. This has been an exciting episode, and I'm really excited that you were able to watch this far. If you are new to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you like it so that next time I post on tech commentary, you'll be the first to know and to learn, so that together we can transform our lives, we can transform the people around us, and we can use technology to the best of our advantage. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.